August 8th, 2021, Barcelona, the press room at Camp Nou. This was supposed to be a contract extension announcement. Messi sat down, looked at the notes in front of him, lifted his head, and the tears came first. He tried to speak, choked up for a while, and said he never thought it would be this hard. Messi said he'd done everything he could to stay. He agreed to cut his salary in half. He agreed to defer the wages the club still owed him. He signed every document he could. A guy who'd spent 21 years there, scored 672 goals, won 6 Ballon d'Or, offering to take half pay, and the club's answer was, "Sorry, we can't keep you." Here's the absurd part. Barcelona was pulling in over 800 million euros a year at the time. A club that size couldn't make room for a contract where the player himself was asking to have his pay cut in half. The whole world saw Messi cry that day. But behind the tears, here's what I want to ask. Where did the money go? How did it get to this point? And why was it only after this day that Messi finally started paying attention to his own bank account? The story starts 21 years earlier, with a napkin. December 14th, 2000, Barcelona, the restaurant at the Pompeia Tennis Club. Barca's sporting director, Carles Rexach, was sitting at a table with 2 agents. Messi's father, Jorge, was on the phone, and he wasn't being subtle. Lock down the signing now, or he takes his son back to Argentina. Rexach realized the only way to reassure them was to put something in writing right then and there. He grabbed a napkin from the waiter and wrote in ballpoint pen that he committed, in his name as Barca's sporting director, to signing Lionel Messi. The 2 agents signed it as witnesses. That same night, the club president signed the formal paperwork. That napkin sold at auction in 2024 for nearly $1 million. There was another line on it. Barca would cover all of the boys' medical costs. Messi had been diagnosed as a kid with a growth hormone deficiency. Every day, he had to inject himself in the leg, and the medication ran nearly $900 a month. His father worked in a steel mill and couldn't carry that. A few clubs back in Argentina heard about the medical bills and walked away. Barca didn't. Barca fixed Messi's body and cleared the path for his career. And at age 13, they also set up how he'd deal with the world for the rest of his life. Just play. The money and the contracts, someone else takes care of that. For the next 21 years, that's exactly how Messi lived. His father handled the contracts. The endorsement team picked the deals. Someone else filed the taxes. In 2016, Messi and his father were convicted by a Spanish court of dodging roughly 4.1 million euros in taxes by routing endorsement income through shell companies in several countries. In court, Messi said he trusted his father to deal with all that and didn't really know what was going on. For a guy who'd been told since age 13 that his only job was to play, he genuinely might not have known how his own money worked. In 2017, Barca president Josep Bartomeu handed Messi a new contract. 4 years, 555 million euros. How that number breaks down is honestly ridiculous. On top of an average fixed salary of 138 million euros a year, there was a 115 million euro signing bonus just for renewing, plus a 78 million euro loyalty bonus. So just for being willing to sign and stay, Barca paid Messi nearly 200 million euros extra, regardless of how he actually played. Why would Bartomeu sign something like that? Most professional clubs in Spain are corporations. The shareholders call the shots. Barca is one of the rare exceptions. Legally, it's a member-owned association. Over 140,000 members, 1 vote each, electing a president. The president answers to the members, not to shareholders. The job runs on votes, and the term is only a few years. Keeping Messi is something you can campaign on, and a reason to get re-elected. As for what the contract does 4 years down the road, that's the next president's problem. A system like that basically rewards spending now and pushing the bill into the future. And in the same year Messi signed that deal, Paris Saint-Germain triggered the release clause in Neymar's contract and paid over 222 million euros to take him, the highest transfer fee in sports history at the time. That money could have been a cushion for Barca's finances. Instead, Bartomeu dumped almost all of it right back into new signings and raises. Over 4 years, the team's total wage bill climbed more than 60%. Then the pandemic hit. Ticket and broadcast revenue collapsed across every club, and all of Barca's buried financial problems blew up at the same time. In the 2020-21 fiscal year, Barca lost 481 million euros. Total debt topped 1.1 billion euros. Cash ran dry. They could barely make payroll. With nowhere left to turn, the first thing Barca's new president did after taking office was sign a 525 million euro debt restructuring with Goldman Sachs, long-term financing backed by the club's future broadcast revenue. On top of that, Goldman fronted another 80 million euros in short-term bridge financing to cover operating costs, coming due that June and July. In plain English, to make payroll. And what finally killed Messi's contract came from La Liga. Spain's top division runs a salary cap. Simply put, based on what your club earns and what it owes. The league sets a ceiling on what you can spend on player wages. Go over it, and you can't register new contracts. For the 2021-22 season, Barca's cap got slashed from nearly 400 million euros to 97 million euros. That same year, Real Madrid's ceiling was 739 million euros. Two of Spain's top clubs, with salary caps almost 8 times apart. Messi had already agreed to take a 50% pay cut. Even then, Barca's total wage bill was still more than 4 times that cap. The league wouldn't budge, so the contract couldn't be registered. So Barca wasn't trying to kick Messi out. It was Bartomeu's vote-driven contract, plus the team's suddenly collapsing revenue, that backed the whole club into a corner and pushed Messi out the door. For the first time in 21 years, he found out just how fragile the system that had always covered for him really was. In August 2021, Messi went to Paris Saint-Germain. Everyone assumed this was a dream pairing. The flashiest city, the richest club, the greatest player. What Messi got instead was 2 miserable years. He couldn't find his form, he kept getting hurt, and the home fans started booing him. He put it bluntly later. It was hard to adapt, harder than I imagined. For 21 years at Barca, Messi was the undisputed center of the team. In Paris, he was crammed onto the same front line as Neymar and Mbappe. 3 guys who all need the ball, all at once. You can't build a system around that. PSG had the most expensive front 3 in history, and they won in the league. But they got knocked out of the Champions League in the round of 16 2 years running. The club's direction got clearer over time too. They wanted to rebuild around Mbappe, and re-signing Messi would only get in the way of that. The biggest thing to come out of this low point was the one trophy he'd waited his whole life for. December 18, 2022, Lusail Stadium, Qatar, the World Cup final. This was 35-year-old Messi's 5th World Cup, and a lot of people figured it was probably his last. Argentina lost their opening group game to Saudi Arabia, and nearly went home early, then won match after match, and made it to a penalty shootout against France in the final. The moment the last penalty hit the net, Messi dropped to his knees on the grass and covered his face. On the podium, draped in a black bisht handed to him by the host nation, he lifted the trophy. That photo became the most shared sports image in the world that year. Messi had won just about every award there is, but one line always followed him around: the best, but incomplete. The World Cup was the missing piece, and that trophy completed him. Commercially, lifting that trophy hit even faster. Before the World Cup, brands were signing one of the best players in the world. After it, they were signing Messi, soccer's 3rd king, the heir to Pelé and Maradona. Over the following year, his endorsement income is estimated to have jumped more than 40%. But more important than the bump in endorsements was this. It gave Messi the confidence to say no to an astronomical contract. Let's rewind a little. Because even during those darkest days in Paris, Messi had quietly started setting things up for himself. In October 2022, 2 months before the World Cup, Messi registered a holding company in San Francisco called Playtime Sports Tech Holdco. Target fund size, $200 million. The guy running it came from outside the soccer world, a Silicon Valley founder named Razmik Hovagimian, who'd earlier sold the video platform Viki to Japan's Rakuten for $200 million. The company invested in sports tech and early-stage startups, and later moved into AI and robotics, companies working on AI data evaluation, teams building physical AI, startups developing field AI models for robots. The dollar amounts weren't huge, but the timing is the interesting part. A 35-year-old player still struggling on the field was already laying his own track using Silicon Valley Phi C logic. While he was still playing, he started treating himself like an asset to manage for the long haul. When that door at Barca closed, Messi learned nobody covers for you forever. And in Paris, he started actually doing something about it. So in the summer of 2023, when the Saudi League came with a contract, his reaction was unlike any time before. That contract, by the later account of the Saudi club's own president, was worth 1.4 billion euros total, the highest documented offer in sports history. Messi turned it down. The public explanation was that his family wanted to be in the US, but a man walking away from 1.4 billion euros, someone who hadn't touched his own accounts in 2 decades, clearly understood by this point that what he wanted wasn't a bigger number on a balance sheet. What he wanted was in Miami. The world's first reaction was pretty much the same across the board. Messi's going to retire in style. A last-place team in MLS, the top soccer league in North America, with a base salary of just $12 million. Was he just coasting to the finish? But the game behind this deal had been more than a decade in the making. In 2007, David Beckham transferred from Real Madrid to the LA Galaxy and slipped a clause into that contract. When his career ended, he could start a new MLS team at a fixed price. Beckham spent the last 6 years of his career in LA, retired in 2014, and cashed in that clause for $25 million. And he chose Miami. By then, the going rate for an MLS expansion team had climbed to $110 million. Beckham used a price he'd locked in 7 years earlier to grab a ticket worth more than 4 times that. Beckham brought in the founders of Mastech, an infrastructure company worth over $10 billion, the Cuban-American Mas brothers, to put up the money, hold the majority stake, and run the actual operations. Beckham kept 10%, handling global brand partnerships and player recruitment. In 2021, 2 shareholders, including Masayoshi's son, exited, and the team restructured its ownership. That's when the US private equity firm, Ares Management, came into Inter Miami with $150 million, the first private equity investment in MLS history. In July 2023, Messi announced he was joining. The day the news broke, Inter Miami jerseys sold out in hours, setting a single-day jersey sales record for any athlete transfer ever. Average ticket prices more than quadrupled in 3 days. 2 weeks later, Ares put in another $75 million. 2 investments, $225 million total. Beckham used a contract option to pry the door open for a new team. The Mas brothers put up the money to actually build it. Ares' 2 investments funded the expansion. And what Messi brought was superstar gravity, the pull of a king of the sport. The blueprint was complete. The goal, turn a last-place MLS team into the most valuable asset in North American soccer. 3 clauses in Messi's contract are where the real money is. First, a cut of Apple TV. In 2022, MLS signed a 10-year, $2.5 billion global broadcast deal with Apple, giving Apple exclusive worldwide rights to every MLS match. To watch, you pay for an extra subscription inside Apple TV called MLS Season Pass. According to ESPN and others, Messi's contract tied him to a share of that subscription. Every new paying subscriber, he gets a cut. The day of Messi's debut, MLS Season Pass added 110,000 subscribers. In under 3 weeks, subscriptions went from under 1 million to over 2 million. Second, a cut of Adidas jersey sales. Adidas is MLS's official jersey sponsor, and Messi's contract tied him to a share of Inter Miami jersey revenue. Every jersey sold, he gets a cut. The day his signing was announced, Inter Miami jerseys sold out in hours. According to Fanatics, that single-day sales broke the record for any athlete transfer ever, beating Cristiano Ronaldo joining Manchester United, beating LeBron James joining the Lakers. Over that whole first season, Inter Miami jersey sales broke the all-time MLS record. Third, an option to buy equity in Inter Miami after he retires. Those 3 clauses turn Messi from a guy collecting a paycheck into someone with skin in the team's rising value. And the team's real value sits on the piece of land next to the stadium. The team locked down a 99-year lease on 131 acres from the city of Miami, a former municipal golf course, right next to Miami International Airport. That lease took nearly a decade to negotiate, and in 2018 it even went to a public referendum. 60% of Miami voters approved it before it finally went through. What they're building there is called Miami Freedom Park, a 25,000-seat stadium, plus 1 million square feet of retail and office space, a 750-room hotel, $1 billion in total investment, with construction running through 2030. The stadium is really just the foot traffic and the marquee for this real estate play. Messi's arrival turned this land from an MLS stadium into the center of North American soccer. Inter Miami's valuation went from $600 million when Ares came in back in 2021 to $1.4 billion in 2025, more than doubling in 4 years. This is a classic Wall Street move. Find an undervalued shell, drop in a top-tier piece of IP, use that IP to lift the whole valuation, then use the real estate development next door to turn that valuation into real cash flow. And Messi is the final, most important piece that makes the whole thing work. Today, Messi's net worth sits somewhere between $850 million and $1 billion. But forget the number for a second. From age 13, this soccer prodigy grew into the best player on the planet. And yet Barca set his price. His father collected the checks. And Messi himself was never the owner of the business called Messi. By starting an investment company, leaving Paris, and turning down that astronomical Saudi check, the greatest player in the world chose to sit on the other side of the table in Miami, and finally took control of his own financial empire. In 2000, on that napkin, everything for 13-year-old Messi was arranged by his father, including who controlled his money. And in Miami in 2023, what Messi signed wasn't just a contract for the back end of his career. It was the start of the next chapter, the bigger one, the one beyond the field. I'm Patrick. This is The Capital Game. See you next time.